Hi, and welcome to another episode of Better Golfer Today, hosted by Tyler Dice Golf. We have another great show planned for y'all today, but before I start, let me just say that everything I talk about here are things that I do, have done, or were told to me by someone doing them. I try to give the best information and insight that I can, so I hope you all enjoy it. Now, moving on. This week's main topic is going to be on the makeup of a set of clubs. As always, I'll be sharing what I'm working on, and this week's tip is going to be on reading greens as the season changes. So, let's get started. This week's main topic is on the makeup of your set of clubs. I see some players do this really well, and I see others totally botch this. There's no reason for your set makeup to be horrendous, and I see so many people's set makeups that are horrendous. So what I want to do is I want to kind of lay out, what are the priority clubs, what are the core clubs you should have in your bag, and then we'll figure out kind of from there, talk about what you should put in after that. So your core clubs, the priority clubs, going to be your putter, your driver, 5-iron through pitching wedge, and a sand wedge. That's your core. Those are clubs that I think everyone should have. Unless for whatever reason you can't hit a 5-iron and you carry a 5 hybrid. But anyways, these are your core clubs. And so that's 9 clubs, which means you have 5 more to mess with. Okay, you have 5 more clubs to stick into your bag. But your core clubs, again, putter, driver, 5 through pitching wedge, and a sand wedge. Again, everyone should have those. So what should you do next? All right, what clubs do you stick in next? Where should you look next? Okay, right? Sometimes putting together a set of clubs can get a little overwhelming. You don't really know where to start. You don't know what yardage is or areas you should focus on. If you listen to one person, they may tell you, hey, you need 5 wedges because all your shots come from inside 100 yards from the green. And I would tell you that guy is not right. And that would be silly to do that, because if you had 5 more clubs to put into your bag and you had 5 wedges, that means you would put 3 more wedges in, according to this setup, and you'd only have room for 2 more clubs. And I can tell you right now, that's not the way to do it. So anyways, you need to look at where a lot of your strokes occur and look at where you can pick up the most strokes. So it's not a bad idea to carry 3 or 4 wedges. A lot of players are doing it now. A lot of great players, a lot of average players, they carry 3 or 4 wedges, and that's fine. So carrying some extra wedges wasn't a bad idea. But what you want to do is you want to just take a look at your overall game and say, hey, when I play my best, where are the strokes coming from? Obviously, you're going to have 14 tee shots, depending on how many par 3s you got. But you're going to have right around 14 tee shots. And you're going to have at least 18 approach shots. And you're probably going to have at least 30 putts. And so the rest of the strokes are coming somewhere else. And so those strokes are going to come as a result of a good approach shot or a bad approach shot, or they're going to be a result of a good tee shot or a bad tee shot. And so you need to know, hey, my home course, I can't hit driver all day. It goes too far. I have to lay back. And on a couple of those holes, I need something that goes 20 yards less than my driver. And if that's the case, then you need a 3-wood or a 4-wood. Right? You need a 3-wood or a 4-wood. Just, right? That's how it shakes out. And I say 4-wood, and not a lot of people carry a 4-wood. And I think it's silly, because so many players don't have the club head speed and don't have the swing mechanics to get everything out of a 3-wood. They can't hit it high enough. So they don't carry the ball far enough, and so it comes off really low. And if you're carrying a 3-wood and you are going to hit that 3-wood into a green, that ball needs to be able to stop on the green. And if it's coming too low, it's not going to stop. which is where a 4-wood comes into play. 4-woods have more loft. They typically have a little bit shorter of a shaft, which I think is better. And with today's low spin golf balls, they'll launch higher. Okay, so 4-woods are actually a really good option. So I think if you're looking to put a set of clubs together, a 3-yard 4-wood's a great one to go with, especially if you don't hit your 3-wood very good. Hitting some 4-woods, or as a lot of companies are labeling them as 3-wood high launch, or 3HL, that's essentially a 4-wood. So consider looking into that option. And maybe carry a driver, a 4-wood, and a 7-wood. A golfer that I grew up playing with, him and his dad did this. And I respected a lot of what he said. He came at things from a much different angle than most people did. And I think it was a better angle to approach golf. And he played really well. He was a really, really good golfer. He was the club champion at that club for a long time. I want to say like 13 or 14 years in a row until yours truly beat him. So this guy, I respected the heck out of what he said. And his son had a setup. He had a driver, 4-wood, and 7-wood. And he was a really strong player. Played college golf. And that driver, 4-wood, 7-wood setup did him well. And I think it's a setup that isn't looked at very much today because everybody sees pros hitting 3-woods, and so they want to have a 3-wood. And I think seriously consider getting a 4-wood to throw into this set. All right, so let's move away from the woods and jump into your long irons. And I say long irons, but what I really mean is hybrids. If your current set has a 3 or 4 iron, just don't. Take them out. Throw in 2 hybrids. Seriously. Amateur golfers don't need 3 irons and 4 irons anymore. It's dumb. It's really stupid. And the excuse I always hear is, oh, well, I hit it so good off the tee. You know, I hit that low shot off the tee and it just goes forever. No. Don't. I'm serious. Like, just don't. Like, this is blunt Tyler talking. Just don't do it. Carry hybrids. Just stick 2 hybrids in there. I'm serious. Stick a 3 hybrid, stick a 4 hybrid in there. Thank me later. Okay? So you've got your core set. Stick a 3 and 4 hybrid in there. At worst case scenario, just stick a 4 hybrid in there. But stick a 3 and a 4 hybrid is what I would highly, highly, highly recommend. So if you do that, you have 11 clubs, which means you have room for 3 more. What should you add? Well, you asking me a 3 or a 4 wood. So then you have 2 more clubs left. So, honestly, like, I would say, hey, like, how often? I would look at like where a gap wedge loft-wise would fit into your set. And so gap wedge is typically something from like 49 to like 52 degrees. If you have a lot of shots that come into that yardage, where that loft would put you in, okay, you know, club in that range, then I would seriously consider doing a gap wedge. And if you love hitting lob wedges, then throw one of those in there too. If you don't like hitting lob wedges and you love hitting sand wedge all the time, don't throw a lob wedge in there. Throw a 7-wood in. Okay, so have pitching wedge, gap wedge, sand wedge on the low end. And then your top end, you'll have a driver, a 3 or 4 wood, and a 5 or 7 wood. Preferably maybe even a 4 wood and a 7 wood. And then you have your 3 and 4 hybrids and 5 through pitching wedge. And that would be your set makeup, okay? Really, I mean, it's not crazy. It's not anything outrageous, but it's a pretty solid setup. With those clubs, you're going to cover almost all of the yardages you're going to need to cover. Okay? So that's about it. So you have your core clubs, putter, driver, 5 through pitching wedge, and a sand wedge. Carry 1 to 2 hybrids, 1 to 2 fairway woods, and 1 to 2 wedges. That's where you're throwing stuff in. Pretty simple, right? And so this isn't a crazy difficult topic. It's simple, but you just want to fill up the yardage gaps and be able to use the clubs efficiently. You want the clubs in your bag to complement your game and help you score better. The goal isn't to hit the ball perfect. The goal is to shoot the lowest scores. And your set makeup should be there to help you do that. Okay, want me to repeat that? The goal isn't to hit the ball perfect. The goal is to shoot the lowest scores. Then your set makeup should be there to help you do it. That's what this is all about. You get clubs to help you shoot the lowest scores, not to get you the perfect ball flight, the best ball flight, the longest possible shots. You don't get fit to hit the ball farther. You get fit to shoot lower scores. That make sense? Alright, the game is about the lowest score. Not about how far you hit it, not about how close you hit it to the hole, not about chipping the ball in. It's about having the least number of shots. You don't have to be fancy with it, but you want to, when you're putting together a set of clubs, you want something that's going to complement you and help you shoot the lowest scores possible. And this is where club fitters and players differ. A club fitter, his goal is to get you hitting the ball the best that he can. A golfer, their goal is to shoot lower scores. And so that club fitter, if his only goal is to get you hitting the ball as far as possible, to get you hitting the ball as best as you can, there's going to be some disconnect there, and there's going to be some struggle between the player and his new set of clubs because they're not going to be what he needs. Okay? I know a lot of people, a lot of companies, a lot of club companies, a lot of club fitters say, oh, you want to launch it at this launch angle, with this amount of spin, with this ball speed, and you'll hit the ball, super far. That's great. But I'll tell you what, if you look at that shot on a golf course and you say, oh my God, that's way too high, I hate how that looks. You're not going to like it. You're not going to want to hit that type of shot, and you're going to try and hit the ball differently. Okay? So you want to make sure that when you're putting together a set of clubs, they match. That set of clubs matches how you think the ball should fly. There may be limits to that. You may have drawbacks because of that. But if you have confidence in it and you can rely on that ball flight, you can score with that ball flight. Okay? So, that's all I have for you in the main topic. Let's move on to what I'm working on. Right now, it's the fall. So, during the fall and winter, I like to work more on short game and get in better shape. I know I just had a podcast talking about how I didn't think short game was that important. But, as the weather gets colder, it's harder to hit greens, it's harder to hit the ball as good as you did in the summertime. So, I like to do all my short game work now. Because it's easy to do that. And it's going to fit right into how you play winter golf. So, I start with the fundamentals. And then I move into working at results. I'm trying to hit the golf ball closer to the hole. So, I work on short game, work on the fundamentals, and I'm constantly trying to get the ball closer to the hole. I want tap-ins. I don't want to have to putt when I'm chipping, okay? I want tap-ins, which means I want the ball to nestle up right next to the hole. And if it goes in, great. But I want the ball as close to the hole as possible. All right, I want tap-ins. All right, let's move on to the tip of the week. This week's tip is going to be on green reading as the seasons change. As the seasons change and we get into fall and winter, the weather's going to get cooler. And in a lot of areas, the greens are going to get considerably faster, especially in my area. And as the greens get faster, you need to make the appropriate changes in your green reading. Faster greens break more, so you need to make that appropriate adjustment. Also, the greens like to get a little mushy because they hold moisture longer because it's cooler outside. So be mindful of the spike marks, and also, because they're softer, The greens are softer. Your ball's not going to release as much. It's going to set down. It's going to nestle down faster. And it's going to have a tendency to settle into low areas. So keep all that in mind when you're putting. Don't be alarmed if the ball likes to bounce a little bit more initially than it did in the summertime because the ball's sitting down in a little depression more. Remember, the greens are softer. So a softer green is going to, that golf ball is going to nestle down a little bit more. So keep that in mind when you're out there playing. And that's it. That's all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed the podcast because, as always, I always enjoy putting these together. They're a lot of fun for me. I like pulling this information out and talking about it. It's great for me. It's a great refresher. So I hope you guys enjoy it too. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.